of all, let me introduce myself. I am Ritesh Maheshwari, Director of MRAI, which is Material Recycling Association of India. Professionally, I am also associated with Shabro Metallic Limited as Executive Director of International Trade and Operations. It's an honor and privilege for us to have an opportunity to address this August gathering over here, and especially in an event organized and led by Ministry of Steel. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this initiative and for considering us to be a part of this event. Let me start by briefing all of you what MRAI is all about. Material Recycling Association of India. It's a national level apex body comprising over 1,200 members, including individual companies, regional trade associations, product associations, and large number of members located across the globe. Led by Mr. Sanjay Mehta, who is a very passionate, dynamic entrepreneur, this association has grown by leaps and bounds in last 5 to 7 years. The association covers a wide spectrum of materials, including ferrous, non-ferrous, plastics, paper, tire, rubber, e-waste, etc. We are collectively representing a strength of more than 20,000 small, medium and large enterprises located across the country, and MRAI is the apex association which is interacting with Government of India and various ministries for all discussions related to all the matters concerning with recycling. I would not like to invest too much time on this. Everybody knows here, secondary steel sector, how important it is. I just want to tell the August gathering over here, and especially you, ma'am, that the concept of equality versus equity, that is kind of very relevant in case of secondary sector. The sector is having 40% market share, but it really requires a special attention and special support from the government so that in the long-term vision, the sector can also prosper without compromising its market share, and we can together stand along with the primary steel producers and cater to our respective markets. I think everyone knows about it. What are the advantages of secondary steel making? From steel making, we go towards scrap. Scrap is also termed by a lot of people as a mine above the earth. Now, why so? Scrap is clean, scrap is green, scrap is recyclable. And if we look at some figures in front of our screens here, in the year 2021, with a 7% requirement from the primary sector and 40% requirement of the secondary sector, which is EF, IF basically, the country required 29.5 million tons of scrap, out of which official figures I think say 22, 23, but let's assume around 25 million tons of scrap is available and sourced domestically, and balance 4.5 million tons has been imported. Going forward in 2030, as we envisage the overall country's steel production to rise to 300 million tons per annum, and the secondary sector again enjoying a 40% share, roughly around 120 million metric tons, we expect the demand for scrap is going to increase to 95 to 100 million tons. And assuming that domestic generation also kinds of leap bounds and reaches, probably we will get roughly 60 to 70 to 75 million tons of scrap from domestic generation. Still, there will be a gap, there will be a big void which the industry needs to be fulfilled from imports. Ma'am, Material Recycling Association has been instrumental right from its inception in creating an overall image of scrap. Traditionally, scrap has always been looked at as an informal, unorganized sector, like a local kabadiwala. But we have taken great pains and we have got excellent support from the government that now we have slowly, I would not say slowly, but very quickly, we have moved on to the formal sector. Our members are getting themselves more organized, using latest technologies, latest equipment. In the morning, madam, I was hearing that Honorable Minister mentioned about the SSI industry and the need to come up with a special policy centric on the secondary steel industry. We would humbly request, madam, please consider that in that policy which will come for secondary steel industry, a special focus is given to scrap, its usage, its promotion, so that the industry can focus more to generate more scrap, collect more scrap, use more scrap. Finally, we feel, ma'am, in last few years, the scrap is getting its due importance. We are getting into a formal sector. We are employing more people. Needless to say, scraps helps in conserving natural resources and, of course, CO2 emissions. I would not like to detail on all these points because most of the people over here are very much well aware what are the benefits of using scrap in our furnaces. We sincerely want to congratulate and thank the Ministry, Government of India, from the bottom of our heart. I think, madam, this last 7 years, Honorable Prime Minister's government has really listened to us, has really given us our due importance, and we are indeed thankful that today we are taking our heads up high because of you and because of your support which you have given us. And we hope and pray that we continue to get this same support from you in the years to come. Every time, I would like to mention to everyone present here that there is a drastic change in the way we have seen in the working of ministry, and every time we give any representation to the ministry, our voice is heard. Maybe implementation of certain things take time. It's okay, we have to be patient about it. But at least we know there is somebody in the ministry who is listening to us, who is understanding our pain, who is working for us. So thank you very much, ma'am, for this. Coming on to the key challenges which we are facing, ma'am. Right now, ma'am, the recyclers as well as the secondary steel industry is really concerned about domestic availability of the raw material for its sustenance. Please appreciate, currently in the country, every of the scrap which is available is collected through one or the other ways. It is recycled, it is bought into a formal sector, and with prices going up, everyone realizes that the scrap just cannot be thrown away into a landfill. As we go in the future with the increase in steel production, as I have mentioned in my previous slide, we are expecting a shortage of about 20-25 million tons of scrap, which perhaps need to be imported. And let me also emphasize over here, ma'am, that all the members which we represent, all the association which we represent, nobody wants to import scrap. किसी को भी scrap import करना पसंद नहीं है. ये हमारी मजबूरी है, ये हमारे को अपनी इंडस्ट्री चलाने के लिए स्क्रैप चाहिए, इसीलिए ही हम लोग इंपोर्ट्स पे जाते हैं. Nobody wants to bear the forex risks. Nobody wants to bear कि आज हम पैसा दें और 60 days बाद हमें मटेरियल मिले. किसी को भी नहीं पता कि कहां से बंद कंटेनर्स में मटेरियल आएगा, वो कैसा होगा. लेकिन इंडस्ट्री को ये स्क्रैप चाहिए, ये अपने आप को सर्वाइव करने के लिए. Please appreciate, ma'am, if any entrepreneur is setting up any induction furnace or electric arc furnace, they are looking at a stable raw material supply at least for a horizon of 5 to 10 years. And with domestic generation of scrap still not picking up, they have to have all their avenues opened so that imports of the scrap can also come. In this respect, madam, we have only two requests from you, that you have kept us under your umbrella. You please keep continue to keep us under your umbrella. First of all, we need, ma'am, this zero duty waiver which you have granted us and extended it for 1 year. Thank you very much for the same. We request, madam, that kindly give us a comfort level that this deadline of 1 year should not be imposed to us. Why? Because once you give us a free hand and once you allow us to make investments in the sector, then more and more entrepreneurs will get excited to enter in the sector. And the moment you see domestic scrap supplies is catching up with the domestic requirement, immediately you can take the countermeasures to prevent imports of scrap. But till the time the balance is restored, till the time the acute shortage is covered up, kindly give us a long-term waiver for the import duty so that entrepreneurs can work with free mind, free hand. Secondly, ma'am, for facilitating the flow of scrap in the domestic industry, again, we are very grateful to Ministry of Steel, to MORTH for coming up with various policies at regular intervals of time. The ELV policy which has been announced recently is a very positive step in this direction, but we expect, ma'am, we are expecting that roughly ELV population is likely to reach around 22 million vehicles, growing at a CAGR of 4 to 5% by 2025. This ELV policy is a landmark policy. It may likely help to bridge the gap between domestic demand and supply. But still it will require, as we foresee, ma'am, 2 to 3 years for the effects of this policy to come into effect. Primarily because the conditions are not imposed mandatorily till now. Since the maximum mandatory requirements start coming in from 2023 or 2024, only then we will see what kind of inputs are coming and how we can move ahead. Secondly, ma'am, another key challenge which is faced by our industry is related to some bogus billing, driven primarily by high 18% GST slab rate. MRAI has been making various representation to various ministries, including the Finance Ministry, and we have given very detailed proposal and guidelines that why we request that the GST rate should be dropped to 5% for scrap business to weed out all the kinds of bogus billing or you would say illegitimate transactions in the business, so that the actual users who are paying all their taxes, who are running their operations clean, are able to work without fear. Lastly, towards the Vision 2047, ma'am, we foresee that primary and secondary sector will be coexisting together, walking hand in hand, and as the overall country's production reaches to 500 tons per annum, secondary sector reaches to 200 tons per annum. Cleaner and greener steel making, since morning we have been hearing about this, and scrap is a key raw material which can be used to meet our carbon dioxide emission norms as well as greener steel making norms. I'm told that primary sector now, what Mr. R.K. Goelji mentioned in his report in the morning, primary sector right now is being forced to use about 8 to 10% of scrap in their basic oxygen furnaces to meet the carbon emission standards, abatement of carbon, and this share is likely to go up. In the electric arc furnaces of developed countries like Japan and Korea, ma'am, 100% scrap is used. Full 100% scrap is used. That is the kind of grades they are making. That is the kind of clean steel making they are doing. We request you to give us the raw material security, and as we envisage with the ELV policy coming in and SSI policies coming in, we expect by the year 2047, India will emerge as a global recycling hub. India will set up the benchmarks for recycling, and our members, our team, our association is fully committed to it, ma'am. We are basically recyclers, we respect the environment, we are enablers of change, we are committed to perform, we care for the community, and we will handle the scrap very responsibly, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ritesh. We've noted down all your points, like your logistic issue, which you mentioned about, that ELB policy. I mean, we regularly keep taking it up with more. Then zero duty, you are aware that we got it imposed, removed year before last, and then we took up the matter immediately and it's been removed for another 1 year, because the basic policy of the Ministry of Steel that any raw material which is coming in should be without duty, that under that pretext. Now, as far as GST, the issue which you mentioned, you people had suggested a solution of reverse charge mechanism, right, which you mentioned, and you said it should be introduced for purchase of scrap, that is GST on purchase, that is 18% I think you are paying, and the furnace units should pay it rather than the scrap dealers. That was the point you tried to make. So we just wanted you all to make a small case and send it to us so that we can take. And you also mentioned about whether this could be reduced. That was the second point, where it could be made 5%. I think both the cases were mentioned to when the Honorable Minister had gone to Mandi Govindgarh. So if you could, then we requested them to make a case and send it to us. We will definitely get it examined in whatever best way possible.
Next week you will get it.
Yeah. Thank you.